Can you please state your name and what state you live in?
Jodi Vanslee and in Florida.
When did you have just one foreclosure, and when did it start? And what was the
No,
outcome?
I had two.
What was the outcome of those cases?
I lost my house. Oh, the first case was closed. The first case was closed October 31st, 2013. That was the judge dismissed without prejudice because there was no the Wells Fargo would not submit discovery. So
Was the other case on the same house or a different house?
Same house. That case, okay, so that case, I got list pendants on, you remember your dates, like giving birth to children. December 17th, 2014, I was served. Yeah. Second time.
And when did the first foreclosure actually start?
Okay, that was December 27th, 2011.
Yeah, I get that you're able to remember the dates. That's awesome. I'm not going to be able to chime in too much because I'm trying to make it my voice not only be heard when I'm asking the questions. Okay, so so it started. Your foreclosure basically started in 2007. It ended, and then it started up again. And
2011. Sorry, let me correct you. 2011.
Oh, thank you. And okay, thank you. Are you, and you live in Florida, which is a judicial state.
Yes.
Did many people found forged and facially invalid assignments and endorsements in their case? They either felt that they were, or they actually had an expert look at the assignments and find that they were invalid. Do you feel like you had any forged or facially invalid assignments or endorsements in your case?
My note was attached to the list pendants, both foreclosures. First of all, the note is not notarized. I don't know why during our closing of our homes, our signature is not notarized and nobody else signs with us. So that right there is not a contract. So there was no contract between me and Wells Fargo. It was a promissory note with just my name on it. And then it was endorsed by Joanne M. Mills, and there was no notary on there. She just endorsed it as the vice president of Wells Fargo, nothing else on that. So a lot of people I spoke to over the years also had Joanne M. Mills on there as well.
Thank you.
So
entities foreclosing are representing themselves to be trustees for trusts, yet these trusts often no longer exist, and the trustees do not appear to realize that they are involved with your foreclosure. What, if anything, indicated to you that this was happening in your case?
The third servicer, so I had Wells Fargo, case dismissed on 2013. They restarted it 2014. Then what was it? Let me just try and think here.
Were they trust? Did they come in as a trustee for a trust?
Yeah, they came in as it was a mortgage trust. So it was Nation Star was the second entity that came in. That's Nation Star. We all know who they are. And then the third servicer was BTRMG Mortgage Asset Trust.
Did you ever get any evidence that the entity foreclosing on you was actually the party that was owed the debt, or did you get any evidence that the opposite was true, that they weren't owed the debt at all?
No, and that takes us to my second lawyer that took over my case. He asked for, I actually had to open up my docket a few days ago I wanted to print the last note affidavit, and I was looking a little bit at my docket, and I noticed discovery was done, but they never did answer discovery. And then discovery was never answered. They did submit the lost note affidavit the day of my trial, so the judge never got to see that prior to trial. It wasn't submitted to the day of my trial on my docket.
And you did ask the questions about whether or not this foreclosing entity had evidence that they were owed the debt in discovery, but they never answered it.
Well, I'd have to print up what he asked in discovery. That discovery could have been my former lawyer. Mark Stoppa could have done discovery, but my second lawyer that I had to hire, he probably did not push for that discovery, and we don't know why. And I will not say and I will not assume, but he did not push for that discovery. I did ask him many times. I said, this is exactly what he told me and my husband. We asked about trial. What happened? Okay, I still had a daughter home, and I have 2 very large dogs. So and we could not be homeless. We were in the middle of signing a contract for a new home. I was trying to exit my home. I'm a nurse, 35 years. I am not a, what do you call that? I'm not in denial of what was going on. So we were looking for a new house from about 2017. It took us about 1.5 years to find a home that was perfect for us. And we were in the process of signing the contract. My lawyer, second lawyer, knew we were in the process of signing the contract any day. So losing my home on 4/4/19 and my closing of my new house was May 10th, 2019, a month apart. So you could see right there, I was trying to get that contract signed as fast as possible. So we said to him, what happens if we go to trial and we lose? And he said to me, blatantly, you will be kicked out in 3 months. So I said, well, I don't want to do a settlement unless I know the entity coming in, this VTRMG Mortgage Asset Trust, actually owns my mortgage. I don't want to give my house to an entity. I said that to him numerous times. We need discovery. So then I hung up, my husband hung up from him, and I'm waiting for like the discovery letter, a second discovery letter, since they didn't answer my first lawyer's discovery. I'm waiting for a second discovery letter. About 2 weeks, I call his secretary and I said, hi, this is Jodi Vanslee. I didn't receive an email that a discovery letter was sent out to the entity trying to foreclose on me. What is she goes, what discovery letter? I said, well, in the past, when Mark Stoppa would ever have any contact with the court or with the what's on the defense,
the opposing party,
I would always get an email of what was sent, always. She goes to me very nastily, well, this is not Mark Stoppa's office. And I'm like, okay. So then could you get in touch with him, with Mr. Vanslee, and ask him about this discovery letter? I don't want to give my house to this entity, and I'm in the middle of signing a contract. And I guess trial was in a few weeks or so anyway, or a month. He gets back to me that he's going to send the discovery out. That's what he tells me. I still never got a letter. I don't think it was, I have to go back on my docket. The docket's very convoluted. The judge that did my foreclosure, that signed that foreclosure agreement, he is a corporate lawyer in Spring Hill, Florida. I asked my cousin, who's a lawyer, how many semesters of foreclosure law do the judges have? And she said 1 semester. 1 semester, that's it, in law school. So how did he know how to rule on my case if he'd only had 1 semester in law school 30 years ago? So I'm very, that really hurt me.
Did you learn about any conflicting interests that the judge in your case had by any chance?
No, I did not look into that. I did not have time.
Okay.
I did not look into that.
Did you have, did you experience any other due process violations in your case?
Yes, I did. So, yes, I did. I did witness some due process, and here it goes. So I'm not talking about what happened with Wells Fargo. That's a whole nother interview with the modification fraud and dual tracking that led us to the 3 foreclosures. That's all, back. I was dual tracked while I was applying for modification. They lost all my documents. Every time I would call, I would have to send new documents. And all of a sudden I'm getting foreclosure documents. So why am I getting foreclosure documents in the middle of applying for Wells Fargo for a modification, for a HAMP modification? So that's what happened back then. That was 2010. So moving forward to 2011, when I was first foreclosed on, the 2 foreclosures. This is at the end of this whole 8-year thing. This is 2019. And me and my husband told the lawyer, he told us that we had 3 months to move out if we went to trial. And I said, okay, then I need to do a settlement. I need some money to move. I want like $15,000. And I don't want to move out right away because we have to fix up we're buying an old house. I bought a 1997 mobile home. That's what I had to move down to, from my 4-bedroom, 2-bath home with a pool, with a screened-in patio on a half-acre lot. Okay, I had to move into a mobile home that was a 1997. So yeah. So we knew we had a lot of work to do on this mobile home. Okay, but it was in our price range. Okay, so anyway.
Okay, so let me, I know it's
So
difficult.
So
any other due process violations?
Well, I'm getting there. I'm just trying to think how to explain it in not so many words. So anyway, we knew, I said I wanted $15,000 and I needed 6 months. Well, he comes back a week later and says, well, they want to settle for no money and 6 months and you pay rent. And I said, absolutely not, I'm not paying rent. So then, okay, so then we wait. So in the meantime, this company was calling me a lot at work on my cell phone and I had to answer. So Mike Vanslee, he started a lawsuit with this company because I had documented amount of times they called me, 3-4 times. And there's a law that if a debt collector calls you, you get $1,000 per call. So we had that lawsuit in in Hernando County, the lawsuit for these calls, okay? So anyway, that was going on, and so we're talking, so here comes my trial. My trial is 4/4/19. He has not talked to me that we were going to trial or anything, and I'm waiting for this settlement that I guess he never even told me a settlement was a foreclosure, actually. He never told me that, didn't know. So anyway, they call me 7 p.m. the night before trial that they're going to give me 7 months, no money, 7 months. So they took my house for 7 months of my time to fix the old house that I had to buy. Isn't that beautiful? Aren't you glad? I am not crying because it's 3 years ago. So if this was like really raw, like yesterday, I'd be crying. But I learned how not to cry because I really love where I live. So I'm okay. I'm just, I'm a nurse of 35 years. I lost my life savings, in this situation. So anyway, I did the settlement. Okay, I said yes to this. We had to say yes, me and my husband, so we could get our 7 months because we couldn't be homeless. We have 2 dogs and my daughter, and we could not be homeless. We had to wait for this contract to be signed. I didn't want to go to the trial, lose the trial, and have to be kicked out in 3 months. Where am I going to go if I didn't have that contract signed? Where was I going with 2 dogs and my daughter? So we were forced into it. That's what I was talking about to you. We were forced at the 11th hour, 13 hours before trial, to sign this contract that I didn't really want to sign because I had no discovery. I had no proof that these people owned my house. The mortgage was not even on my credit report anymore. That's how long this was in court. Okay, wasn't even on they foreclosed on nothing. So anyway, let's move forward. All of a sudden, I get a letter in the mail from the judge from Hernando County Court that this was a foreclosure. And I was so upset. I called Mike Vanslee, I said, I told you I didn't want to do a foreclosure. I wanted a settlement. He goes, a settlement's the same thing as a foreclosure. I said, great. Well, you didn't tell me that. Well, that's a misunderstanding. I said, no, it wasn't. You never told me. Well, it wasn't on my credit report anyway. But anyway, I never, that contract, and I have emails to prove it if I ever go to court. I did not receive that settlement till a month after this, and it's in my email. I never received it, and I didn't sign it.
What settlement? Oh, the settlement contract. Okay.
The settlement and do you know what the settlement contract included? That lawsuit. I feel you would just. What was the question about being
the due process violation?
Due process. That was a due process violation because that lawsuit was a separate lawsuit and should never have been included in that contract. And I'll tell you another reason why we signed it. We didn't want them to come out and lock those doors. Remember, they own the house now. They could have come out at any moment and changed those locks. And then what about my dogs and we would find all our stuff outside the house. My dogs would have been let go. Who knows what would have happened, ma'am? What's your name? Sorry, I call you.
It's Ann Chin.
And anything could have happened if we didn't sign that contract.
Oh, I get it. Look, I went through it too. I also had a dog and 2 children, so I know.
So you understand.
A big, large dog and 2 children. Believe me, I'll tell you my story sometime. You won't believe it. Anyway,
yes.
But let me just ask. Okay, hopefully they can edit this part out because we need to get through.
That's okay.
Did you experience not being able to find an attorney at any point, or were any of the attorneys you
Yes.
turned to for help disbarred?
Yes. So one of the attorneys that ran my case until 28 October of 2018, he was disbarred.
Can you-
Mark, say his name,
Yeah, sure.
Mark Stappa.
Let's just say, well, okay, let's ask the question again. Who, if any, of the attorneys you turned to were disbarred?
Mark Stappa.
Did you learn about any class actions or multi-plaintiff actions for homeowners? Have you ever tried to join one of those? This is an APON
No, there
question.
was no one ever set one up. There was nothing that ever came to me, to my knowledge. There's a few going on outside of California and some other guy up in Massachusetts, but nothing that affected me that would help me.
Now tell me, did you ever turn to any government officials or agencies when you started suspecting there might be something underhanded going on in your case?
Yes. Yes, so in 2011, before my foreclosure, it was August, I don't know the day, I started at the college, Pasco Hernando State College on August 16th. So I got my new emails, and all of a sudden I get an email that Marco Rubio's group is going to be at the college. I was like, oh, wow, okay. So I go up to where they're meeting in one of the buildings at the college, and I sit there and I listen to them talk. And then I go up to Mr. Smart after everybody speaks and everyone leaves, because this is very personal. You don't want everyone to know your business. And I said to him, I said, I want to ask you a question, Mr. Smart. Are you aware that Wells Fargo is telling folks that are on time for their mortgage and who want to apply for a HAMP modification that they have to be 3 months behind, and then they don't give you the modification, they lose the documents, and then they foreclose on you? Are you aware of that? He goes, I've heard that happening. This is exactly what he says to me. He hands me his business card and tells me to call him at his office. Okay, so I contact his office and they send me that form you have to sign. All senators, you have to sign a form of release of information, and I send that, and I never hear from him or Mr. Rubio ever again. They just let me go to foreclosure in the end of the year. I kept calling back and no one would call me. It's
Wow.
like they were just told not to say a word. Stand down. Sounded more like a stand down to me.
Do you have any final statement you want to make about what you think should happen now to make things right for homeowners?
I think what needs to happen is there needs to be some kind of class action lawsuit against the major banks that have caused the original foreclosure. I think we really all need to be compensated for our losses and what we have been through. It's very painful losing a home, especially me. 35 years, I retire in 6 years. My husband retires in 3 years. And we lost all of our retirement income that we invested in our home in 2006, because that's when everybody was losing their money in the 401k. So we thought, wow, let's invest in our home. We'll have a lower mortgage. When the kids grow up, like now, we'll sell the home and that was our choice, and that's what we did. And and when it came down to the end, we lost our home. It was very painful. Like I said, I'm not crying now because this was 3 years ago, but it was very, very painful to hear 7 p.m. the night before trial that I was giving my home away to an entity at that is actually loss of due process, because I did not get any due process because no one was going to trial for me. We were going to lose and be kicked out of my house in 3 months.